are back. So we are dedicating this episode to cleaning around work, its importance, and what happens when you don't do it. But not just cleaning, side work in general, because it is part of the job. And perhaps those of you who have never actually worked in the restaurant industry don't realize how much time goes into things that are not just taking your order and bringing your food from the kitchen, because silverware needs to be rolled or polished. Your sugar caddies, your salts and peppers. The first thing you will notice when you sit down at a table, if that sugar caddy isn't full, is the fact that that sugar caddy isn't full and you want sugar for your coffee. So all sorts of just the little nitpicky things that a server or a bartender in particular has to do. I mean, there's side work in the kitchen too. And I do very quickly want to start with just an acknowledgement that the dishwashers have, in my opinion, the hardest jobs in the kitchen, and they get paid the least. And if your dishwasher stops, for whatever reason, just doesn't want to wash your dishes anymore, and I'm not talking about the mechanical machine, I am talking about the human person loading and unloading it, you're screwed. Is going to go down. I have seen it. Yeah, no, it's bad. So keep your dishwashers happy. Managers
had dishwashers walk out, and I've at least had some good managers who just jumped into the dish pit because they knew if the other guy was going to walk out if he was left alone, and if they didn't jump back and help, we were done.
My last chef job, I was chef de cuisine at a golf course in Middle Tennessee, and 3 or 4 nights out of the week, the last thing I would end up doing every night is jumping in the dish pit to help out the dishwasher, because it's not quite right that he's the last one standing in there and everyone else has gone home. It's a pile of stuff, and it's stuff. It just needs to get done. Anyway, appreciate your bartenders. Appreciate your dishwashers. Bartenders, appreciate your dishwashers. And especially if you as a bartender are doing a lot of other people's dishes, they need to appreciate you too. But I guess that's
something about the dishwashers too that is part of it. And this comes down to, again, training in your service like we were speaking of before. When you take dishes back to the dish pit, you do something called sculling your dishes. What this means to people who've never done this job before is, I'm clearing your table. I take the dishes back. I scrape all the food off into the trash. I put the napkins into the napkin bin. I put the silverware into the silverware thing. I put the different plates, depending on how your restaurant works, either stacked up by size or however you want to do that. We don't just take your dishes back, throw them down, and walk away.
Yeah.
Now, people do that when you work with them, and you see them do that. And half the time, if you're on staff, you're, hey, what are you doing?
Well, yeah.
Finish this.
Get back here. Yeah.
Because they already have a tough enough job, and if you do it worse, it makes their job harder.
And sure, every once in a while, I've been completely weeded and just been. Yep. I'm sorry, but if you don't make a habit of it, every once in a while you can get away with it, as long as you're cool with your dishwasher.
Yeah, I'm the same. I go back like, hey man, I'm crushed right now. I'll come back and clean these. Don't even worry about them. I'll be back in like 10 minutes. I just got a lot of stuff to do right now.
Right.
And it's like 3 plates. It's not like I came back with like a whole bus tub and said here, and then turned around and walked away. Just talking about side work, people understand if you followed a server or just stood back in the kitchen in a restaurant, you would just be like, how is this even working?
Yeah, right. If any one aspect of it breaks down, everything stops. It's incredible sometimes. And when the dance is flowing beautifully, it is a wonder to behold. Really, I've seen some very high-level restaurants that are busier than they should be, because I feel fine dining, you really need to cap how many, even not fine dining, any restaurant, there are only so many people that the kitchen can handle in any 15-minute period, even a buffet. So think about that if you're the host.
They've actually started getting to that at my last restaurant, where they realized, hey, we can't just seat the entire restaurant in 20 minutes.
Right.
Like exactly. when I'm tending bar and my printer's not stopping, and then I'm next to the kitchen and they're looking at me, and I'm just like, I'm buried too, man. I don't know what they're doing. So, I've got to make like 45 cocktails here, and you guys are going to have to make about 45 entrees here in about 5 minutes, because they're all going to put all their orders in at the same time. Bar side work. Yeah. Cut fruit pretty much every day. I mean, no one likes to see those little brown lines on your limes because they've been sitting in the little tray caddy for 2 or 3 days. There's just a lot of stuff that goes on. And I'm also a big proponent of burning your ice. Some people like to just
Right.
leave it. Bacteria grows in ice. I've had to explain this to several jobs over the years. Like, oh, we save the ice. And I'm like, yeah, you have to clean. Like, first time I burned one, like the stuff in the bottom of that ice bin, I was like, okay, go get me a giant bottle of bleach. And they're like, seriously?
Well,
I'm like, yeah,
and I've
just not good.
and on the subject of ice, I have also seen the bad habit. I mean, really, it is a health code violation, so don't do it. Of you have your service ice, the ice
Yes.
that's going to go into a glass that someone's going to drink out of,
Yes.
and the bottle of Fireball or whatever kind of tucked into the side there. It is absolutely okay to keep your beer, your cold liquors, your wine on ice for service like that. It just cannot be the same ice that you are going to scoop into a cup.
Exactly.
If they are separate bins, great, go for it. In fact, that's how I prefer to keep my beer cold. But you cannot pull out a Coors Light and then take a scoop of that same ice and make a cocktail with it.
I mean, and look, I've been guilty of this too. It's just been the setup and the way the bar runs and the way I've been told to do my bar, where I'm like, this is wrong, and they're just like, well, that's how we do it here. And it's like, okay, and that's when I'm back in the one ads.
And
so I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to stay here or drink here. But this is great because this is right after our training episode. You get trained on this. You get shown how to do this. Now, behind a bar, there's basically two types of bartenders. You've got the ones like me, like everything needs to go in its place. I'm OCD about that. I want to be able to, like you said, I want to turn around, put my arm behind myself, grab the Grey Goose, pour it, and then just put it back. I don't want to reach back behind myself, nothing, look around, where is it? Oh, yeah, that bartender's got like 9 bottles behind his well that he's in next to and all over that he's using for drinks and just leaving them next to him.
Right.
Even though he has his own well set up behind him too. And then you see him put him in the ice and then put it back. And I'm like, everybody uses that bottle. You can't do that. Yeah, you're exactly right. It's really frustrating to see stuff like that. I mean, when I go into a bar and see that, I'm like, well, not drinking anything on the rocks today, I guess. And
Right. It's like, how about neat? We'll go neat today. Yeah.
Then you catch me looking at the glass like, how about you?
Yeah, right.
You got beer in a bottle?
Yeah, exactly.
Then I'll open it. Yeah.
Oh, I'm good. Thank you.
I'm good. I got that for you. But yeah, the Sidework stuff that you never see. I mean, in my place, you see it because I have to set my bar up every day when I go in. Also, people don't understand the difference between Sidework and being open. Like they'll see a server setting up tables, like taking chairs down. Are you open? Well, we open in about an hour.
Yeah.
Right.
But
you know,
you're here and no one's sitting at that table right now.
Yeah, can I sit there? And it's like same thing. I'll be cutting fruit. Are you open? And I'm like, I'll be open in about 20 minutes. Yep. If you want a beer, I can do that. But right now, I don't even have ice yet for cocktails. Sorry.
That is one issue that I have in banquets, and I'm going to call out the internal one. So I'm talking to the marketing department and to HR because it's their events where it will say on the BEO, doors open at 10, and at 9:45 they're starting to let people in.
Yeah.
And now, generally 15 minutes out, usually we're good. Usually we're there. But how about you open the door and poke your head and say, hey, are you guys ready for us first? Because it is, to me, embarrassing to be still setting tables when people are sitting down.
Yeah. I mean, you're say, for example, like a lot of the banquets I did, there's water on the table. We pour the water glasses. It's the last thing we do.
It's the last thing. Exactly.
So like I'm behind the bar. I'm filling up pitchers of water. I'm icing all the glasses and stuff behind the bar so we don't get ice on the tables or anything like that, and wiping down the glasses so everything's nice. And it's a whole team effort. And then the people just start walking up and we're just like, okay, so we've got an ice party of 40 and they're all going to want drinks to come straight to the bar where we're doing that. Yeah, and one of us, usually me, is downstairs like, what in the absolute fuck are you doing? We've got 15 minutes. Oh, well, they got here early. Well, I don't give a fuck.
Right.
They stay down here for 15 minutes. Well, they didn't want to order drinks because they said it's open bar up here. And I'm like, it is in 15 minutes.
Yeah,
the bar ain't open yet.
That's really the worst. I will be clearly setting the bar up still, and people will come and be like, oh, can I just grab a Coors Light? I'm like, sure. They can see you. They're just like, they don't care.
Yeah. They used to. They don't care anymore.
They used to. Yeah. It actually came up while I was at work this morning with one of my favorite coworkers about how it is a skill to say no to people, but really, and I'm not sure the people outside the industry realize this, sometimes it is a joy. Sometimes my favorite part of my day was getting to tell you no to that ridiculous bullshit you just asked for.
Yeah, I get I get same thing. I get these air crews in from the Missouri National Guard. out here and they stay at our hotel, and they're National Guard. So they're basically think they're in Vegas.
Mhm.
You know, they flew the plane out. They've got to do a little bit of work during the day, but they're out here away from their families and stuff on a paid for vacation by the government.
Right.
Came in yesterday. All of them sitting at my bar. I'm like, get your whole crew down here, because I knew the pilot and he's a good guy. And he's kind of the crew. He's in charge. I'm like, get everybody down here. So he gets them down here. And there's like the one older guy who's their cargo kick. I mean, we're talking big cargo planes. And he sits down with a Coors Light at my bar in a can.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, good. Let me start. I'm glad you brought that can of beer. I grab it, pour it out in front of him. He's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, you cannot drink anything in this lobby. It's against the law. It violates our liquor code. We've had several issues with you guys out of the Missouri National Guard specifically of doing this. Don't do it. We will cut you off. We will kick you out of the hotel.
Dang.
Secondarily, all of you guys are going to go out and eat right now, right? And they're all, yeah. And I'm like, and then you're all going to be gone for like 6 hours and come back drunk. I'm like, I am not your last call stop.
Yep.
I'm like, if you come in drunk, I'm just going to tell you no, just go to your room. And sure enough, that night they come in and the older guy comes in and like his buddies are walking. He's like, oh, and walks. And I see that I look at them behind him and they're shaking their heads like, sorry. And he walks up to the bar and is like, nope, we're done. And just turns around and walks away. And the guy's like, yeah, he decided his last stop was going to be his room. And then he saw the bar. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. Thanks for trying to help a little bit. But it's just like, no. And he walks away. And I'm like, thank you. That felt good.
Right. Well,
yeah, no things.
I guess the moral of this story is if you're a brigadier in the Missouri National Guard, talk to your folks about that.
Talk to your entire air wing, bro.
Yeah, make them watch this video.
We had a colonel get lost in the hotel because he couldn't find his room or his floor.
Oh, that's fun.
With his card in his hand with the room number on it.
And you're a colonel. Yes, sir. All right. Oh, wait. No, there is actually one more subject I wanted to bring up in this segment, and that is everyone's job becomes no one's job. And those are kind of the unassigned side work things, the things that need to get done every once in a while. Maybe it's not a daily task, but in my case, it's actually filling the salt and pepper shakers. I have a couple of my servers that are very good about making sure that the sugar caddies are full when they go out to the table, but we'll put a pepper shaker that's, halfway,
like
just
quarter inch, just like
come on. Again, and maybe this goes to the managers, but if you keep finding these things, maybe make it a point of assigning that task, or even just saying, hey, before you go tonight, make sure that you blah blah blah.
My thing on that is, so generally speaking, the managers aren't the one who check that out.
Right.
You have servers who are closers when you do closing side work. Like
usually
everyone has to roll silverware. It's like someone's doing like the sugar caddy, someone's doing this, someone's doing this, someone's doing this. Usually the salt and peppers are done by the person on that station. If you all close at the same time.
Right.
If you stage it out, then it's like, okay, you've got section one, you've got the section you close and you just take care of it. A lot of times the closers just skip on that, and then it just keeps going, like you said, going forward until there's an eighth of an ounce of pepper and salt in each thing because they have been filled up in just say a day and a half or 2 days.
Right.
And the managers are like, well, I don't know why this isn't getting done. And it's just like, well, manager, get off your ass, go down and watch them. Hey, you guys aren't doing this right. Make your closers do it. If the closers have to do it, the server, they'll never do it again.
And let your closer, if they are responsible for that, also be able to hold the other servers accountable for it. If that person doesn't actually feel like they have the power to say, hey, get back here and do this, then that falls on you as the manager. But
I've got a funny story about that.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
So I was working restaurants. I was a closing server a lot. I like working late and I'm good at closing. And I had one guy who'd almost never do his side work. And one night he's walking out and I'm like, hey, and I'm walking behind, like, hey, you got to come back and do this side work, man. You can't just leave. And he's like, oh, it's done. And I'm like, no, it's not. I checked you. You haven't done anything you're supposed to do. And he's like, keeps walking towards the exit. And I'm like, look, dude, you got to come back and do this right now. And he kind of runs out the door. A car pulls up. He dives in and it drives away. And I'm just like,
wow,
well played. All right, fine. We're going to have a talk tomorrow, but that was a good one.
It's like, all right, you had your getaway vehicle prepared.
I would like to point out too, this is before cell phones.
Ooh.
Yeah. The timing on that was impeccable. I mean, he really just went out.
Nice.
Car door open. He jumped in and they drove away. And I was like, I was smiling walking back. I'm like, that was good. Got me there.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. Well, we're going to take another break here. And we will be back with more in just a minute. Oh, yeah. No, we have the list of things that get nasty when you don't clean them. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.